You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. Any opinions expressed in Earth Sky People Radio do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any opinions expressed by Earth Sky People Radio's guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Earth Sky People Radio. Hello, this is Earth Sky People Radio with your host, your friend, and your soul family, Victoria Vives Khuong. You can find me at victoriavives.com. Today is Saturday, June 6, 2015. We are together in Earth Sky People Radio. Earth representing our connection with Mother Earth and nature, and Sky representing spirituality and life beyond the Earth, extraterrestrial life, extra-dimensional. Last week, at Earth Sky People Radio, we had a replay, which was a revisited and revamped version of the show 12-strand DNA activation ceremony. So in this event, we had an opportunity to talk a little bit more about why we did these processes in the event, and of course, redoing the whole event so that you can join it once again. You can visit this and any other archives at victoriavives.com/radio. And today I have the immense honor to speak with you, share with you about something outstanding, an experience that truly changed my life, and I think the lives of many. And this was the experience of attending Contact in the Desert. This is an event in Joshua Tree, which already is a sacred land, so all the energies of that location are going to be conducive to having a profound experience, a spiritual expansion. It has been a trip in which I met so many special people that truly brought a piece of this blessing that once I put all together, now that I'm back to Los Angeles, I can see how my life completely has transformed. So I want to share with you this energy that I brought with me so that we both can enjoy it. And because of this, I also would like to set a sacred space for this show. So I will be rattling and chanting with the intention of bringing the most beneficial, loving, and supporting energies into this show. Mother, Father God, thank you for this opportunity to join together with everyone around the world in this radio show, in this sharing. Thank you for each person that brought beautiful light into this experience through Joshua Tree, through the Mojave Desert and the Sonoran Desert. Thank you also to the invisible forces that made this such a blessing, such a gift. Aho. Okay, one of my intentions in sharing this with you is to really be able to integrate all the knowledge that was shared in Contact in the Desert so that we can upload all this information to our global awareness and start sharing with one another. This is one of the things that many of the speakers at the event were sharing with us, that each person that went to the event is going to become like a seed in our circle so that we can share this information, so that disclosure is not something that is up to our governments, because sometimes they are not truly working towards that or may not know how to do it. But we can start speaking with each other, sharing information. We are able to be a mirror for one another. And this really activates information in each of us. It really establishes a foundation from which we can grow. So that's another of the intentions that I set for today. The first time somebody hears about the ET phenomena or the possibility that we are not alone in this universe, of course there is excitement and curiosity, but sometimes we may also feel conditioned by our environment. So I feel that the more we can speak with eloquency and having done our own research so that we are certain in our speech, in our sharing, the more people around us will understand that this is truly real, that we're just not used to the idea. So I don't know if I share with you, if I share online that actually I spoke with my aunt about things that are related to the theme of star seeds. And this for me was very challenging because my family in Spain doesn't really know many of the things that I believe. Most of my shows are in English, so there is a big gap between what they know about me and what I truly express to the world. So finally I was able to speak with her and let her know about certain things that I believe. And this was so healing to finally feel so confident about it and being able to be truly me with her. She is very important in my life. And the only detail is that when I had my Kundalini awakening, she was the one that helped me come back to earth, in a sense, because she's a psychologist. So at that time, she thought that I had a psychotic episode, and I didn't want her to think that I'm still a little bit out there or that I'm not totally sane. So that's the reason why I took so long to finally share with her. But now that I did, I feel so much better. And I think that all of us now can bring this information not as fanatics, not as crazy people, not as ungrounded people, but really, really, we are grounding this information. And people like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, and many others are doing this work for us so easy, with so much evidence. And these were some of the speakers that were at Contact in the Desert. So I will start sharing some of the most outstanding information that I was fortunate to receive in this show. And this was from Eric von Daniken. This man is not only extremely knowledgeable, but also is very modest and very, very funny. So a great, great speaker. And by the way, you can see some of the pictures from this event at victoriavives.com/Contact Desert. And Contact Desert will be just one word altogether, Contact Desert. So once again, victoriavives.com/Contact Desert to see the pictures. So Eric von Daniken has written many successful non-fiction books. He was also known because of appearing in the television special In Search of Ancient Astronauts. He has contributed also to numerous film and television productions. And Ancient Astronauts was actually one of the themes he was sharing about in Contact in the Desert. He shared about gods from the skies helping in ancient civilizations, helping humans. And this was information that he gathered by looking in depth into the Sumerian tablets and many other historical records. So many of these historical records spoke about flying gods coming to Earth to help humans. What he very, very cleverly deciphered is that many of the scriptures and the representations we see in paintings may not be speaking about heaven as that place where we go supposedly after we die, but instead is speaking about a space, outer space. And those gods are not necessarily gods, but instead they are extraterrestrials. So to me, just speaking about this, it gives me goosebumps. Imagine all the biblical information if we start changing this amazing concept and realize that they're speaking the truth of our ancient world, in which gods, obviously not gods in the sense that we understand it nowadays, but instead beings from other planets, evolved beings coming to Earth to teach us things, to help us, giving us information, and descending from the heavens, actually in their spaceships. So this was so incredibly informative. All the records he has, all the images from many indigenous cultures, from folklore, where people dance, how the ancient gods descended from the skies, from the heavens, to text, to monuments. So many details that he brought through. And I feel this is so important to share it, because now we can start reading those biblical texts or any other information with new eyes and go deeper and really find new insight and information. So that's why this show is about insights from contact in the desert. So the adventure gets started right here. Let's do it. Let's start exploring life with new eyes. To learn more about Eric von Daniken, go to daniken.com. That is DANIKEN.com. Alright, so in this show I want to share about people that has not been in my show yet, but I want to mention that also some of the speakers that have been in my shows were speaking at this event. So for example, Steve Bassett, he was at my show, and I got to see him in person speaking and also directing one of the panels. And he truly impressed me with his presentation. The ability he has to convey information in a way that is very exciting, credible, with facts, and also very humorous actually. So he was quite the show. I really enjoyed his presentation and how he guided the panel as well. And also you can see that he is more in politics, so he's more serious, and I feel we need some of that for sure in this disclosure movement. Once again, you can see some of the pictures from the event that I took with some of the guests at victoriavives.com/contact desert. Steve Bassett's website is paradigmresearchgroup.org. Another presenter who has been in my show before was Laura Eisenhower, so she was there speaking as well. And as you know, this was one of my favorite people to interview. So she was sharing once again about Gaia, Sophia, extraterrestrial life, timelines, very, very important information. And I encourage you to watch our interview at Earth Sky People Radio. We had an amazing conversation, so I would love for you to check it out. And what was really a treat when I met with Laura again in Contact in the Desert was that she and Dr. Dream were giving sessions together. So I got that amazing treat, and it was so special. I even have a gift from them, which is a garnet bracelet. It seems my body and my soul really needed it. So they were so kind to give this to me, and it's right here with me right now. And I had it with me since. Something that I really treasure. So thank you again to Laura Eisenhower and Dr. Dream, amazing people. Laura's website is cosmicgaiasophia.com, and Dr. Dream's website is drdream.com. So that is drdream.com. I'm actually so excited to do this show because it's like living everything again and really assimilating everything that has happened, because it was truly like a dream talking about Dr. Dream. And another presenter from Contact in the Desert that had been in my show was Dr. Lynn Kitai, sharing about the Phoenix Lights. And if you see that footage, I mean, that is really proof that there is something going on beyond what we know. There were these spaceships that thousands of people have seen. They are either extraterrestrial spaceships or there is something that our government maybe knows that we don't know and they are using, who knows, but the proof was there. A lot of people saw it. Her website is thephoenixlight.net, and check out our interview together as well at victoriavives.com/radio. Okay, so let's continue with people that has not been in my show yet. Another presenter at Contact in the Desert was David Wilcock, and perhaps you know him as a best-selling author of the Sourcefield Investigations, and he's also part of 2 shows in Gaiam TV. That's how I knew about him. So he was sharing, oh my goodness, a lot of information, to the point that he mentioned that he was actually disclosing things that the government has asked him to disclose, because disclosure was coming and we need to have some of the information. I am open to listen to everything, but at the same time, I cannot guarantee that this is true. One of the things he shared was what are the 13 names of the Illuminati family. So I thought that was pretty interesting and that many of you may be curious about it. So I wrote it down and I'm going to just share it with you. One moment, let's see. Let me find my notes. So the families that he mentioned were, number 1, the Rothschild, number 2, Bruce, number 3, Cavendish, which is also the Kennedys, number 4, the Medici, number 5, Hanover, number 6, Habsburg, number 7, Krupp, number 8, Plantagenet, number 9, Rockefeller, number 10, Romanov, number 11, Sinclair, number 12, Warburg, number 13, Windsor. And then he said that it's the Committee of 300 that includes the Bush, Carnegie, Ford, Gardner, Hamilton, Haynes, Morgan, Roosevelt, and many more. This was a little bit of a creepy lecture. I'm so glad that at the end he did some meditation, because all of this is so obscure that unless we have done that meditation at the end, it was not very comforting. So let's talk about Mike Barra now. Mike Barra is a regular in Ancient Aliens, which is a show in History Channel. He's a New York Times best-selling author, a lecturer, and TV personality. So he was speaking about artifacts on Mars and the Moon. He had a lot of pictures in his slideshow showing different structures that could be seen on the surface of both Mars and the Moon. These structures were not natural, so it didn't look like something natural that, oh, maybe, it's a shape that was created naturally, but it was really distinctively made by man or by any other civilizations. Normally, the things in nature are going to have more organic shapes, so more like circles and not so much perfect squares, right? So these were the kind of structures that he was sharing. One of them looked like a pyramid that actually could hold 50,000 people there. So this would tie into the information that Captain Kramer or Lord Eisenhower or Andrew Basiago shared about people living in Mars and people living in the Moon. And some of this information also was about the face of Mars. What Mike Barra was sharing is that perhaps secret societies stopped sharing about these facts with us, with the whole world. And sometimes it is said that NASA may be hiding part of the information, maybe because we are not ready, quote unquote. And what is also said sometimes is that they just have their own agenda with some rituals that they want to do and that perhaps are doing. So, all of this I cannot tell you for certain. And it was very interesting actually because we were there and there was a panel that was hosted by Steve Bassett. And there was an astronaut who has gone in outer space several times with NASA. His name is Story Musgrave. In the panel, most of the speakers believe that there is some information not being disclosed, whereas Story was sharing that NASA is completely clear and is sharing everything. So at that point, I was wondering, well, is he unaware of NASA covering information, or is part of his oath to NASA to keep that information private or secret? Or is just everything so compartmentalized that he doesn't know and many people in NASA don't know? So this is amazing. I'm not sure what is the reality. I know that I heard a lot of things about NASA. Obviously, I don't believe everything 100%, but I'm very open to listen to different perspectives. And, I know that the world I believed to be in years ago is not the one that I'm discovering. I mean, of course, you and I are creating a new world, and we can always create our world. And part of this is really uncovering this information and just telling to the world and to whoever secret societies or our governments or whoever it is, that we are ready for being our own authority, for taking responsibility of whatever it is. But truly, we need honesty and we need clarity, and we cannot live like little kids anymore. We are mature enough to take this in front of our faces and resolve it as we can. I always feel that extraterrestrial life mostly is going to help us. My personal connection is always benevolent, it's always inspirational. Imagine the same that Eric von Daniken was sharing, that they were looked at as gods, helping and bringing information and good things. So I feel the same, that once all of this opens, we're going to have any cure for any disease and free energy and all these things that we really deserve and need right now. But it is up to you and it's up to me to really start asking for this. You know what it is said, that angels cannot show up unless we ask. So I feel that this is the same. There are some technologies that has been acquired by reverse engineering, and of course that's a way in which perhaps with the crash on Roswell and things like that, we might have been able to gather and have new technologies. But imagine if we really ask our sisters and brothers in the universe, we want to connect with benevolent beings that can help us in our progress in finding a way for new societies, how we can bring peace to our world, how we can bring empowerment and healing and living in harmony with Mother Earth. Please, I think that we really need it like right now or 20 years ago, because really it's about time. So many times actually I look at it in the same way that I look to my pets. All of it is the same. Well, my cat agrees. I don't know if you can hear him in the background. My pets are not more or less than me. It's just perhaps a smaller amount of consciousness, in the sense that their consciousness is less expanded. So we are all the same consciousness, but maybe their consciousness is a smaller portion. So when I look at them, I feel the same than when I look at a little baby or a beautiful flower. It's so pure and innocent and so unique that I am completely taken by it. So it's beautiful for me. And at the same time, I may have consciousness that goes beyond what they understand. So I can provide for them perhaps healing when they need it, or food or water when they may not find it, because I have an expanded awareness. The more we are together, the more they may perceive some of that awareness, or we may allow them to activate that awareness in some way within themselves. Also, sometimes they may experience trauma when we are trying to help them. I know that some of my pets may have had a wound or an injury, and when I'm trying to heal them, they experience fear and it may be overwhelming for them. So when I think of extraterrestrials that perhaps contacted some of us and maybe the experience was a little scary and a little dramatic or traumatic even, I feel that perhaps they're helping us in something essential sometimes and we just cannot handle it or we don't know how. And at the same time also I understand that the information that they bring to us is something that we could find within ourselves, but perhaps throughout years and years and years of reflection and observation, whereas by being in their presence, we start resonating at the same level that they are. So that's why I think that the more that we can connect with this higher awareness, these benevolent beings of highest love and light, even if by intention, the more we will start feeling their presence or even remember our interactions that we already had. It is worth also to point at the idea that consciousness, when it is not expanded, is limited, and thus the perspective may be not as empowering as it could be. So when I see our human civilization, our human family, living sometimes with aggression and sadness and worry and many other things, it is only because of that limited perspective. So when we allow our energy to rise above and we reach our higher self and we are able to live from a perspective that includes more of all that is closer to oneness, we can find in any situation how we can act in a way that is going to honor all of life so that everybody can receive a miracle for that situation. And this is something I actually experimented with a lot, and it always works. It's just overrunning the programming that we have, which is another point, that in our society, of course, it is not about the earth being a terrible planet. The earth is beautiful, and it is not about humankind being terrible. It is about the system we are in. So as long as we can override that system a little bit and start thinking for ourselves and be our own authorities, then everything changes. And once again, putting the example of my pets, my cat doesn't like possums very much. So when my cat see a possum, which is an animal actually that is only natural of South California, I think. So if you are not in California, you may not be familiar with this beautiful being. So when my cat sees this animal, he gets really freaked out and start hissing. And it is just a lack of awareness, a lack of consciousness. He doesn't understand or recognize this animal and it gets scared. And the fear is what makes him be aggressive in order to defend himself. So I feel that as long as we can expand our awareness, we don't need to fear. And expansion means empowerment. We understand more of our own power and that nothing can harm us when we are in our own power. You know, when I've been to Mexico and Peru the first times, sometimes that, you know, maybe I was going with people, but at some point I wanted to go on my own. In India also this happens. And it always was recommended not to do this, especially at night. But I'm a little bit adventurous, so I decided to break the rules a little bit and start going on my own sometimes. And I know that if I'm walking with fear, I'm not going to get very far because that is going to be something that other people may pick up on. But if I walk in my strength and I'm fully aware of my presence and my space, nothing can happen. So that is also what I'm sharing about when I speak about expanding our consciousness and being in this powerful light. And actually, over time, my cat is getting used to possums, so exposure and repetition also is a big theme. That's why I feel that the more we speak about extraterrestrial life and the more we share with everybody, the more it becomes something natural to us. So this is something that we can all participate in and bring disclosure, all of us together. And by the way, possums are an animal that I really, really like, but I understand that some people here in the US are not very excited about them neither. But once again, limitations, limited beliefs. Same with the skunks. When I say, oh, I saw a skunk, the first thing that somebody tells me is, oh, did the skunk spray you? It's like, hello, the animals do so many things. Why would you focus on that? Or when you see a spider, even me in the past when I was living in Spain, I would see a spider and I was like freaking out. And now it's like, hi, spider, it's so good to have you here. Like if we start understanding the value of each part of consciousness. So all of these are some of the insights from Contact in the Desert. So then, when we think about extraterrestrial beings that are more advanced than we are, it is very important for us not to feel that they are the gods or these superior beings and that we are just smaller, in the same way that we don't want to think that we are the center of the universe, as we thought before, and that everything is around us. So I feel that it is important that to understand that we are equal, and they may have information that they are helping us with, but I'm sure they also have other civilizations that are supporting them. So it's more like a river, and in a river the water comes from the top of the mountain down, and each droplet of water has been up, has been in the middle, and has been at the bottom, or it will be at the bottom. So that means that we are all part of the same consciousness. We are all going to be in all the different places, so there is no more or there is no less. Perhaps some of the droplets may be bigger or smaller, but it is all part of the same. So it is so important to understand this oneness. And this also reminds me, anytime that we speak about civilizations that we don't like and that they are negative and things like that, well, I feel that we may have actually within each of ourselves part of those aspects, parts of those shadows within ourselves. So the place to fight that war is within us, and to integrate those parts of ourselves so that everything together, like the yin and yang, becomes part of something greater, not by pushing it away and say this is not good, but how can we integrate it and allow it to be in harmony with the rest? I personally don't like to judge a civilization. It would be the same that when I was small and in Spain people didn't know black people and they would say, oh, black people this or black people that. So I don't want to discriminate any race or any civilization. And I feel that it is important to see how we can allow that oneness, because we are all part of it. We cannot leave anything out, otherwise it wouldn't be oneness. How can we find that harmony? So all of these things are some of my insights from Contact in the Desert. This was very helpful to be in that environment in order to think further about these themes, about this subject. So once again, that was the information that Mike Bara was bringing about all these artifacts on the moon and on Mars. That what happens is that people will find them by looking at the images from NASA, but then they will be covered. You know how in Photoshop you can change things? So the same, it's like if something was a little suspicious, maybe a month later, that same area on the moon or on Mars would be covered, but sometimes they can tell because it was covered with pure black, which doesn't register when you take a real picture of Mars or the moon. It can never be pure black, which in Photoshop would be 0000000. So that is not a natural color, that is a man-made touching up of the image. So that's how they can know what is real and what is covered. So let me see, I'm going to search for Mike Bara's website so that I can let you know what it is. mikebara.blogspot.com. So mikebara.blogspot.com. So I'm sure that he has a lot of images, and I should have some time in my show. Mike Bara, he was very nice as well. All these people is like really feels like family. It feels like coming home. And just thinking about what I was saying of they are not more than us and we are not more than others neither. At the same time, we want to keep respect, whether it is for higher consciousness beings or lower consciousness beings. We know that a bear can be very nice, and I put that example before, and I would love to pet the beautiful bear. I met this beautiful bear whose name was Boo Boo, but I understand I better don't go hug this beautiful bear. So always respect, very important, and discernment. And with higher consciousness, we want to have the same discernment, how they feel to us. Are they feeling like they're going to help us or maybe not so benevolent? So we want to have discernment and respect. And also appreciation, of course. If they are helping us, we want to make sure to be grateful and honoring that help, and how it's like a teacher, like a mentor. We need to honor those. And I'm going to start now sharing about Richard Dolan. And it's interesting because what I can share about Richard Dolan with you is, first of all, it is one of my favorite people in this work, in this community of extraterrestrial disclosure. He's very, very eloquent, very intelligent, knowledgeable, and he's so humble. And so kind, and he likes to talk with people, and he smiles. And once again, I have pictures at my website, victoriavives.com/contact desert. So I have a picture with him, and once again, he was, I would say, the person that I enjoyed the most. And I asked him to be in my show, and he said yes, so that's awesome. I have to email him. Richard Dolan holds an MA in history, and he has been featured in many, many different shows, and he's an amazing author. The funny thing is that right now I know that he spoke about my labs, but I don't remember anything specifically to share with you. So I'm sorry about that. Hopefully I will have him in my show soon so that you can hear from him firsthand. Because I'm sharing all of this with you, but obviously I'm doing through my own perspective. So it is always nice to have your own direct connection with something, although sometimes it's enriching to hear from someone that perhaps you resonate with. So we have both sides of the coin. And somebody that was kind of new for me was Peter Levenda, another one, very smart, but very humble, and sharing pretty interesting information. He was speaking about, he's also an author, and he was speaking about the difficulty of interspecies communication, which is something I was wondering about. And what was remarkable was that after sharing all the different information about communicating with extraterrestrials, such as things that the NASA considers, like the Fermi paradox, the Rayleigh analysis, the Finney-Bentley limitation, and other things, his perspective was that our true communication with them is actually telepathic. So all the limitations that the government may see in our communication with extraterrestrials, and all the control that they may want to have over it, which will be done through different technologies, are not able to enter what truly is happening, which is telepathy, extraterrestrial beings connecting people individually, you and I. This guidance that we receive through telepathy, these thoughts that come into our awareness, our guides speaking to us, all of that cannot be controlled, even though it seems that also our governments may have tried to see how to tap into that as well. But this is actually something that really validates so much of my work, and I'm so excited because one of the things that I do is to help people connecting with their intuition, opening their third eye so that they can receive information, whether it is through images, messages, sounds, anything that is not tangible, not able to be registered by technology, but simply something that is between you and the being that is communicating with you. It's a private channel, and this is important also. When we are speaking or connecting with other beings, it is very important to use a channel that is private so that nobody can tap into it. So you can just intend it. So it was very interesting, and it really corroborated a lot of the work that I'm doing in a way that it helped me see that people that has been studying so much, researching, investigating, actually is giving you and I validation, all of us that are connecting in a way that cannot be measured by science, but that it is truly the way of doing it. One of the reasons he gave was that if we are sending information to outer space, by the time that that information through technologies reaches other stars or other planets, the people in that civilization or even ourselves may be already gone, because it's not instantaneous. Whereas when we talk about telepathy, we are talking about right here, right now, instantaneous channel, instantaneous portals, instantaneous connection. And he wasn't the only one that spoke about this. Many of the speakers actually had this awareness that all the telepathy and extrasensory information that we may receive is the way to go. So trust yourself no matter what anyone says, because I don't know you, but I had a lot of people perhaps not believing on these things, especially when I had my awakening in 1998. So, just so you know, extrasensory perception is going to be the way to go. All about mental connection, not so much about technology that only a few can purchase or can have. So good for us. Yeah. One thing that I was doing with my husband at Contact in the Desert was that at night we were going to the Sky Watch out in the place that is called Orion's Lookout. So this was a very, very nice place. And actually, my first training with Sandra Ingerman in person, one of my shamanic mentors, was at Joshua Tree as well, at the retreat center. And we would go to this place, the Orion's Lookout, to sing in the morning the song Morning Sun, Morning Sun. I think at this point, some of you may already know this song. And we would go in the morning, like at 6:30 in the morning, to this place to sing because the view was so outstanding. So now it was kind of the opposite. We were going at night in Contact in the Desert and just looking for UFOs. So I would say this is the first time that I was with about 20 people and we all saw the same UFOs, which is always nice to have the same experience with other people, so that it is not about, oh, maybe I imagined it, but it is like, okay, if 20 people are seeing this and talking about this and screaming like, wow, this is awesome, that means that it was there. And one of the most outstanding ones was a light that suddenly became very bright and disappeared really fast and then appeared again. So that was the most interesting one. And yeah, I feel that for anyone that wants to explore all of this, to do it in a group like that is really, really helpful, because once somebody sees something, they start pointing at it with a laser. So then we can all see the same thing. We know that we are all looking at the same point, and that helps a lot. I know there are other systems that can be done, but that was really helpful, certainly. So very much recommended. And then, just as a more personal thing, I just had a blast being there with my husband because, I was going to go alone, but I just feel that if I go with him, I can share this. And since he's more into primitive skills, which for me, everything is related, but I just feel grateful that he's getting more and more interested about these themes, because I think that he really liked it as well, or at least some of the information, especially the things about ancient astronauts. I think he really liked that part. And also, I was excited to see some of you in person, some of my friends online in person, so meet with you after so long that we have been talking online. So I met with Neil Gaur and Universe Soul, and I met with Krista and Arcturus Ra, and I just met a bunch of people that, I don't know, it was just like being at home. Very, very awesome. And of course, I want to be grateful always to the land, the desert, containing this event and providing a space for us to gather and to feel so safe, so loved, and so wonderful. So thank you always to the beautiful land. Okay, so I think this is it. There were more speakers, of course, and it was amazing, but I'm going to start wrapping up this show. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Remember that you can always contact me, and sometimes you may want to send some questions, submit some questions, whether they are for me or for my guests. I will have Simon Parks very soon again. I will have a show also for Q&A with me, so for all the people that sometimes ask me questions, that will be the date. So let me just share some dates. So next week on June 13th is going to be Anaya Sophia, From Sex to Divine Ecstasy. On June 20th is going to be the special Q&A with me. So this is like a world family reunion. We just meet all of us as soul family that we are. And if you have any questions, well, so that is the perfect time. On June 27th is Simon Parks. He was already in the show. He's amazing, and he's the experiencer of aliens. So submit the questions soon because there are a lot, and this show will be pre-recorded. That means that once it's recorded, I cannot include any more questions, and I normally record like maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the show. So just submit your questions right away. Then on July 4th, I will have Dean Ryan with Seeking Truth. July 11th, I have Sharon Sloss neutralizing chemtrails with orgonite. That is going to be very fun and very powerful. And then on July 25th, I have Rob Gathier channeling Archangel Metatron. And maybe I will ask for Trevor Nietzsche to come in because I really like this benevolent reptilian being. Once again, I don't like to put people in a box or civilizations on a box and say all reptilians are bad, because Trev, the few times I spoke with him, he has been always very kind, very loving. And I understand it's channeling, so we don't have all the answers, but I keep my heart open to the idea that there are benevolent reptilian beings as there are benevolent beings in all different civilizations. Okay, so remember all the archives of my shows, both in video and audio, as well as all the information about upcoming shows, are available at victoriavives.com/radio. And if you are in Los Angeles, you have to check out our events in person. We have herbal medicine, in which we are going to be going to the mountains and create medicine with water and plants. We will be doing some ceremonial work with water so that the medicine is really empowered. Also, sound healing certification. This is going to be, oh my goodness, one of my favorite things in the world, knowing how powerful sound healing is. And I work so much about this theme, and this is going to be the full-on certification. So check out my website, reikiwellbeing.org, and you will see all the information there for any of the classes in Los Angeles. If you are not in Los Angeles, then you can check crystalhealer.org, and that is for Crystal Healer certification online. Okay, so I will leave you now with the Enlightenment Evolution Network announcements. Okay, and now, as you know, this is a network. It's the Enlightenment Evolution Network. So I'm going to just share with you the different shows that we have. On Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Heart to Heart Talk Radio with Daniel Scranton. On Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, we have Soulful Preneur with Rachel Archelaus and Megan Crandall-Meyer. On Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with Rob Gathier, the creator of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. On Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Consciousness Evolution Hour with Philip Malika. On Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, The Earth Experience with Kalina Angel. On Saturdays, like today, at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, is Earth Sky People Radio with yours truly, Victoria Vives Khuong. On Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, About Oneness with Karen Newman. And finally, Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we will have very soon the Resonance Intention with Sol and Neil Gaur. Okay, bye for now. You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement.